Yo, what's good, everybody? It's Rishi TCG here, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be going over my last weekend's Raw Lucci list for OP 8.5 and the list I got top 64 with in this treasure cup. So let's get straight into the deck list and let's talk about it. So as you can see right off the bat, we got some weird one-ofs in this list. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 one-ofs. And like that's kind of troll, but I'll tell you why I played this many one-ups and what situations the one-ups really came up in and why I think this list is good. And how I'm gonna change this list for this weekend because I'm also playing. Anyway, let's just look at my matchup spread. So I just put Jonas like my tweet is kind of cool. Anyway, here was my matchup spread. We got the round one I got a bye, and then I played the Lucci mirror. I won the Lucci mirror, won the dice roll, played an NL. I actually lost this round, and they played 7-drop NLs into 7-drop NL. Basically to just and then into 10 A's, and I just didn't have the counter in hand, and I ended up just losing. Next game I played an NL, wasn't like that. Was easier. I played the Lucci next again, lost the dice roll, won that one. Actually, AFK'd round 6 because I'm a fucking dumbass. Just didn't know the round started, never got the notification, lost that round. And then we got Smoker right off the bat on round 7. I was X2 at the time, so 4-2. I won that one pretty easily. And then the Bonnie, which is actually where a Nightmare Luffy came up, and I'll explain that in a second. And then finally Dofi, which is really free. Let's get into the deck list though. So we're playing Spandine at 2, and just because Spandine is one of those cards I do need to see, so I can't really justify running it at 1, and honestly I would probably run it at 3 if I had more space, but running Spandine at 2 is really crucial, and I see a lot of people not using the Spandine combo as much, but this is like the best and most crucial combo in your deck. Kuzan, I decided to run Kuzan at 1 just because I didn't expect to see that much purple Luffy, and into the Dofi matchup, which is something that I did expect to see. It's way worse because they can just bounce it with that law effect. So I decided to just run 1, and it did come up into NL, but actually it's one of those cards that I think I'm better off just cutting. I might just decide to cut Kuzan, but I don't want to get punished for it. It's always nice to have one just because you can bring it off Gecko, so it's essentially in your trash if you see it. Next, let's go to Khalifa. I decided to run 4 Khalifa just because it's a CP2K. I mean, I don't think this really matters what 2Ks you run here. You could run 4 Who's Who. Khalifa is obviously the better one because it lets you trash 2 and draw 2. With that -2 effect, which can combo with that Helmeppo -3 plus leader ability for a whole -6. So it allows Jax to KO a bunch of things. So I decided I wanted to see Khalifa. So next we went to Spandam, and we finally bumped Spandam down to 3, but Spandam still being at 3 feels a little bad just because sometimes your trash isn't as big as you'd want it to be. However, I needed to make space for those one-offs, and Spandam seemed like it was okay to cut it to 3 because I'd still probably see 1 or 2 a game. Sabo, with the blue meta, I think Sabo's a really good card. And I don't like it at 2, but with this meta currently, I don't see myself needing to use it as much. And on top of that, the most matchup it's prevalent in is BY, and I didn't see any BYs. However, I do have a bunch of other BY techs in there, like Sabo, Nightmare Luffy, Nightmare Luffy, and some other stuff. But we'll go over those in a second. I think Sabo at 2 is perfectly fine, especially since we're in a more dominated blue meta. And, Jozu, he could just be put back in hand and bottom decked with cards like Gravity Blade. However, do think I would love to put Sabo at 3. However, I didn't have the space for it. Okay, Rebecca is at 4, so pretty much our extra copy of Sabo because it lets it get Sabo from the trash. Rebecca's never going to go down. Going to keep it at 4, as well as Lucci, which is the next slide. And then Gecko, which is the next slide, which is definitely at 4. Okay, finally, I decided to cut a Jack because I wanted to play some more tech cards for BY. And I saw, I think 3 Jacks is, not as good because in the mirror you cannot see it potentially on 7 Dawn. However, I'm pretty down to play 3 just because it gives me space to play other cards. And there's some situations where in the mirror I don't have a jack, and like I still come out because they misplay or like by resting their jack, so I can get rid of their jack and stuff like that. However, that's pretty much the only situation where I would kind of like I would always want to play Jack on 7. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so let's go to the next. We were in 2 who's just because I don't think the trigger is that great. KOing at 3 costs isn't that relevant in this meta, especially when like the only really aggro deck that's like meta is Dofi, and a lot of their units are 4 costs, so like this will never come up really. So I decided to run it at 2 just in case I wanted to play it out of hand, and it's a tech 2k to KO something. The Helmeppo at 1 is something I'll probably change. So the Helmeppo at 1 is really just I mean honestly because we decided to add 4 Surus to the list. I decided to run 1 Helmeppo. However, into bigger matchups with play bigger bodies like Bonnie and NL, I find this like a little difficult to get the reduction I need with just 1 Helmeppo. However, you know, 1 seemed like enough and I still top with it, so maybe 1 is the right ratio. We'll just have to do a little bit more testing and see how I feel. Now we got Ice Age, always gonna run it at 4. We've talked about this in the previous video, and Tempest Kick, always gonna run it at 4. So then now we shaved off a little bit on the Brook. We made it we're running 3 Brooks now in order to make more space for our 1-ofs, and I don't think you really need more than 3 Brooks because you also play 4 Luccis, and you know, I think 3 Brooks is enough and 4 is a little bit overkill, so I think I feel completely fine with this ratio. Okay, I played 1 6-cost Brook, and this is because well, it's kind of because I had the Altar, but it's because, you know, this card can just randomly come up in the BY matchup or, you know, in any matchup because it can trash a card and it can bottom 3. So it's just like an overall good versatile card that I think can come up, and it did come up in situations. Also, it allows you to trash you know, their 5-cost Luffy in the BY matchup. So just another BY tech card. So a lot of these tech cards you're going to see are primarily for BY or really bad matchups like Nami, because this could help me in the Nami matchup, which is, you know, hypothetically like could come up. So let's you bottom their 3 cards, then you can refresh it with Rebecca. You can keep playing Rebecca and then play this card to win that Nami matchup and put 3 cards at the bottom of their deck. Next, we played that 1 Nightmare Luffy, which actually surprisingly came up and won a game because I played it on 5 Dawn into a Bonnie the turn before they're going to play Basil, and this little guy killed 2 Basil Hawkins himself. So, really cool card. I mean, this card is just really, really strong, especially in a deck that has a bunch of fuel in their trash. So, I think, like, Nightmare Luffy's in a really strong place, and I decided to play 1 just in case it would come up into the Nightmare Luffy BY Luffy matchup. Just another toolbox for me to kind of beat the BYs. And then finally I decided to run another BY tech, which is the Kaido, and it lets you trash a 7 cost, which is good because it can trash a Gecko, it can trash pretty much anything. It can even come up in the mirror when you want to trash their Sabo or trash their Gecko after they Saboed. It just comes up, and it did come up, and I think I like this card. If it wasn't this card, I'd probably play Isho, but some sort of big body tech for the BY matchup is something I was looking to put in, just so I had more big bodies potentially to play. And then finally, I played that Hina, and this came up so much, and honestly, I'm thinking about running 2 because Hina is so powerful. The -4 from the trash is just ridiculous because if you already have a Jack on board, your Gecko just becomes a utility tool to minus, and it's just really broken. So that's my guide so far. Not really a guide, but my deck profile overview of the regionals top 64 Lucci list. If you guys like regional performance updates like this, be sure to check out my other videos. And on top of that, I'm gonna be playing in the regional this weekend, and I'm gonna try to get all the footage for y'all to watch. So we'll see how that goes. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate y'all for staying around and watching my Lucci content. But yeah, this is it. Thanks.